YouTube, Awesome Writer here. Welcome to my review for Power Rangers Dino Fury Episode 17, Our Hero. Our Hero! So this episode was an Aiyon focus. It's kind of one of those episodes dealing with a 6th Ranger acclimating to the team after he, well, joins the team. And I thought it was an overall pretty solid episode, pretty entertaining episode. Lots of funny lines, actually, but I did have my problems with it, because the general premise was about Aiyon basically getting a big head and letting the attention get to him about kind of like, a Ranger should never have personal gain. Like, shut up, Zordon, you don't even go here. And there was some stuff I liked about that and stuff that I didn't. Like, it started with them at the beach, first of all, saying, I sure enjoy a Ranger summer. Didn't you just have Halloween? I know these episodes are recorded out of order, but they're supposed to take place in order. It reminded me of Community when they had season 4. They're like, bring on the summer-winter semester. So that was a little bit awkward. But he saves this ice cream cart from these 2 idiots that wouldn't get out the way. It just reminded me of that scene in Austin Powers when he's like, watch out! Like, he probably should have just let him get hit. They were honestly morons. They didn't have headphones in or anything. But he saved them, and the ice cream guy whose cart he saved, because he saved his cart too, saving his business, I guess, offered him free ice cream for life. And apparently he's a terrible, awful person for accepting this reward. And Chase, aka Javi, thinks so too. That's the part that bothered me most, but I'll get to that at the end. But then that bleeds into him getting attention when the monster attacks, and he's saving these people, and he starts getting all this attention from Jane and J-Borg, and he's like taking pictures with them, and he's not able to help the Rangers. The only thing that bothered me about that was, like, they all got netted up, so they got, you know, defeated without Aiyon's help. But before that, Zato's like, I need help, and then nobody had been netted yet. And I'm like, dude, you guys were fine with 5 people before, you were fine with 3 people before. And it was just a mini version of one of my biggest pet peeves. I hate when they act like they need the 6th Ranger when they were totally fine just 5 minutes ago. But regardless, that wasn't the point of the story. And basically, he's letting the attention get to his head, and later, they're throwing a party for the Rangers to celebrate them, which is another trap by Slither, who, again, I feel like they need to discuss being tricked by his camouflage ability, or come up with some sort of sensor or something, because they've been tricked almost every episode. But they're honoring the Rangers, but they're like, it's too dangerous to go, because if we go, then the villains will attack us. But when they're there and hearing all the praise, Aiyon gets too excited, and he shows up, and he's on stage, and he's getting all the glory, and they're like, oh, you should call your Zord. And the Rangers are like, he's not going to call his Zord. And he calls his Zord, and Zato's like, yep, he did it, which is one of the funny moments. And what ends up happening is because he calls the Zord, Slither captures it, and it leads us to all this trouble. But they come up with a plan to save it, and they use the invisible Dino Key. It's funny because they use it so that Gold distracts Slither, and then Black, like, assassinates the Henchman, like Splinter Cell style. And I'm like, I know this wouldn't happen because it's Power Rangers, and also they need his character. They should have just done that to Slither. But it's probably unrangerly. But Slither's also not a real thing. He's a robot, just like this Henchman. He's not a real being. So imagine how much problems they would have saved if they would have just taken him out, or at least knocked him out. They could have both used it and knocked everybody out. But regardless, it was a smartish plan, a smartish rated G plan to save it. And when they call the Mosa Zord, or not, that is the Mosa Zord, they call the Dimetro Zord, and they do the Fusion Zord, which is apparently is a formation that Aiyon designed, which is kind of a cool detail. I don't know if they'll ever bring that up more, whether they design any other formations or whether any future formations might be designed by the current Rangers. But he designed the formation that is the Mosa and the Dimetro Zords, and they call it the Lightning Zord or something like that. It's the weird one that looks like a Frankenstein's monster that Sid from Toy Story made. But still, it was kind of a cool little debut for it. And then he helps out with that Zord in the Megazord battle going on with the other Rangers at the end. And then, like, the end resolution is then they're all going to get ice cream, and he's like, true heroes pay for their own ice cream. Now, here's the thing. In regards to the moral lesson about Aiyon, I did like that it was wrapped up in the fact that he wasn't used to this sort of praise and attention on Rafcon, or also probably as a Ranger 65 million years ago when the world was run by dinosaurs and there was obviously no dinosaur media that we know of. I mean, we weren't around, so there could have been dino news. Who knows? I've seen dinosaurs. Anyway, not like the actual swords. I meant the show Dinosaurs. Remember, like, not the mama, that shit. Anyway, where was I going with this? So, I like that it was wrapped up in that, because it was something that made sense for this character trait, and it wasn't something like Ollie's, like, new is always better shtick that just came out of nowhere solely for the sake of a lesson. So I liked that there was actually more of a concrete reason for it that made sense and it felt organic. The only thing that did bother me is I hated that whole, like, why are you accepting the free ice cream thing? Like, it'd be a different story if he saw the ice cream truck about to hit the people and he'd be like, I missed the part where that's my problem. And the ice cream guy was like, I'll give you free ice cream if you save him. That would be selfish. But accepting the free ice cream for life is no big deal. I just hate this thing that we've had in the last 10 years of, like, you're not a ranger unless you're this pitch perfect, unrealistic goody two shoes. And I hate that. It's like, oh, so can you let these people be people and feel natural? And that, I wish that they would have more focused on the whole, the fame got to his head because he wasn't used to these custom things and driven that home at the end. I thought that was an interesting concept that, again, gave reason for him to act like this. But those little, like that judgy moment of Javi, like, can't believe you're accepting that, reminded me of the Energems. It's like, stop being such a judgy bench. Like, this is something that's bothered me from even when I was little, because I always found the more inspiring stories and characters to be the flawed ones that changed rather than acting like you have to be this perfect person. And that just always bothers me because I didn't see any problem with him accepting the free ice cream. Maybe you could have done a balance where he's like, I'll still take the free ice cream, but I'll wait in line. I feel like I'm talking about that way too much. But regardless, the episode was still, for the most part, enjoyable. And like I said, I liked the device they used for why Aiyon was behaving this way. And there was lots of funny moments in this. Like I mentioned that one where they thought Aiyon wasn't going to bring the Zord. And he's like, oh, you got the Zord. And when they were all tied up, and Javi was like, you can't beat our team, no way. And then they threw the nets on all of them. He's like, oh, I guess that'll do it. Or even when Slither was trying to hypnotize the monster, he's like, you don't leave the toilet seat down. You don't pay your waitress. You are evil now. You hate the Rangers. There was lots of little funny moments in there that I really appreciated. So overall, I still have a problem with the overly goody two-shoes stuff, but I still found it to be a mostly enjoyable episode, and I'm still liking Aiyon. I would give it a 3 out of 5. My only other, I guess, nitpick would be is that, like, I feel like they're missing in the boat, or like on Aiyon also having that fish out of water humor. You don't want him to be the same as Zato, but it seems like he very quickly learned more about Earth culture than Zato, which I feel like there's a disconnect there. Especially since Zato's been awake for months, and Aiyon just became awake. It's just a little bit of a pet peeve. But what did you guys think of this one? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and climb this episode, ring that bell, so notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.